Vinyl tile from Armstrong. It's durable, versatile, and easy to install. Save big money on Armstrong self-adhesive vinyl tile through February 14th. View our weekly flyer on Menards.com and race to savings on Armstrong vinyl tile happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Hey, it's Keith Byers. Tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking about who is going to do my taxes. Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael and Joe today at 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Arrowhead Tax Service gives back to the community through athletics and nonprofits. And all new clients save 10% off. Online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
All right, everybody, we welcome you in live here on a Thursday, the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. 937-518-1410. That's the number that you can call or you can text. Many ways you could be involved in the show. We're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. That's where you could watch the show, interact with the show, leave your comments, opinions, whatever you want in the chat, and we'll interact with you that way. Again, a lot to get into today. Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports, friend of the show. He's going to hop on with this coming up here in about 15 minutes. Look, last week he didn't come on. He was obviously doing his show. He was doing all his content over on Media Row for Super Bowl week, of course. He had a chance to sit down with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. He'll share his conversation he had with both of those guys. And, of course, Jay Glazer, if you remember that clip that went viral last week regarding, well, you know, the Bengals and the future of Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, and he's going to be keeping an eye on that situation. Look, can't wait to talk with Jason. I like Jay Glazer, but I think that was just nothing but fluff and BS, to be quite honest with you. I mean, like, unless, like, to me, it wasn't breaking news. I think people need to relearn what a headline is. Had it come out that the Bengals were shopping Joe Burrow, that's a headline. But saying that other teams were interested in Joe Burrow, that's common sense. Duh. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that clip went as viral as what it did. I think it was because of the dramatics of it. The Joe Burrow. I'm going to be keeping an eye on the Bengals and Joe Burrow this offseason. A lot of teams are going to be calling as they should. A lot of teams should call. Bengals shouldn't pick up, nor should they engage, nor will they. Because as much as I like to criticize the Cincinnati Bengals, the one thing that I know that they are not is incompetent to the point to where they're going to entertain the idea for moving on from Joe Burrow. So we'll talk about that with Jason Fitz more coming up here in just a moment. So a year ago at this time, last year, I was fortunate. I'll give a shout out to Trace Fowler and my guys over there at Chatterbox Sports. I was, enjoyed getting a chance to work with them for a year. They have their main program is off the bench, and I got a chance to fill in. That was Tom Brenneman, who originally hosted the show. And I was one of the many hosts that they've had on that show, yes, but I got to take over that show for a year and had a ton of fun. Shout out to my guys, Jacob and Elliot and Reed and Casey and those guys. But, the one thing about them that you guys really liked and would really like still is the fact that anytime I have a take that y'all hate, there's no one here to really combat me. They combated me. They constantly told me how stupid my takes were. Constantly. They constantly came at me. I appreciated that. But I also appreciate now being able to give a take and not have somebody absolutely rip me to shreds, at least to my face, as far as that goes. So we were talking earlier today because they were making fun of me because of one of the tweets that I put out. A lot of people right now are in shock that the NBA is just crumbling. That you have so many teams right now who are resting healthy players, shutting down healthy players. You have coaches who are purposely putting out ridiculous lineups, not subbing when they should, not calling timeouts when they should. I mean, this is tanking to the nth degree. I mean, this is beyond tanking at this point. And, we talk about tanking in all sports. Tanking, however, usually is decided by upper management, by not being aggressive with roster management, not being aggressive in free agency, not being aggressive at the trade deadline, or being aggressive at the trade deadline by taking away your good players, not adding good players. Tanking is a problem in all sports, and tanking will never go away. Tanking will always be a part of our conversations in sports because all of professional sports, for whatever reason, has decided that, hey, the worse you are at your job, the more we're going to reward you. And I find that to be absolutely ridiculous. That would be like my boss is saying, hey, Kenner, we need you to get worse ratings. All right. We need you to get no ratings. In fact, the worse ratings book you have, the more money we're going to pay you. That's professional sports. The worse that you're going to be, the better of players we're going to basically just put you in position to get. It doesn't make any sense. It's the only field of work where you are incentivized to suck. It does not make any sense. And I don't know how you fix it. I mean, I know how to fix it. I've had a suggestion or two that has been shot down. And some people have said it's the most ridiculous take of all the ridiculous takes I've ever had. But I do believe that all of these teams have been conditioned to believe that, hey, if we are good and we're going to be a sub 500 team, what do we really get for that? What do we really get for that? We're winning without a purpose. We're winning, and we're not winning in a way that we're going to be in position to win the championship. And when we win, we get worse draft picks. And when we get worse draft picks, that's less of the probability of us hitting on a draft pick. So the best thing to do is to lose a lot, get a higher draft pick, increases the odds of you getting a good player to help turn your franchise around. I get it. The logic is there, in the NFL and in the NHL, whatever. I mean, you name it, professional sports, incentivizing losing is the problem to me. And until you stop rewarding the losers, we're going to be talking about tanking in sports well beyond the next 100 years. It's never going to stop. I mean, like I said, you guys thought I was like kind of hating on the Cincinnati Bengals, but I mean, you guys were telling me the Bengals are a great organization. Look they have Joe Burrow, they have Jamar Chase, they have T. Higgins. Yes. And it took 6 wins in 2 years to acquire all 3 of those individuals. You had to win 2 games to get Joe Burrow. You had to win 4 games to get Jamar Chase. Because you won 6 games in 2 years, because you were absolutely arse for 2 years, you got rewarded with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Now, this isn't a Bengals problem. I'm just using them as an example. This is how it works. The Raiders were the most arse of all arse teams this year. They're going to be rewarded with, Fernando Mendoza. Is Fernando Mendoza Joe Burrow? They're hoping he is. I mean, he's he's a Heisman-winning, undefeated national championship quarterback that is going to go number 1 overall. I mean, those check all the Joe Burrow boxes. But if he is their Joe Burrow, the Raiders are going to be in the national spotlight for many, many years to come, just like the Cincinnati Bengals are. It pays to lose. And until it pays to compete, we're never going to see tanking in sports go away. It just won't go away. Period. The NBA, the NHL, the NFL, WNBA, it don't matter the sport. Whatever the sport, whatever the professional league is, until you stop incentivizing losing, tanking is absolutely going to go nowhere. Damon Hahn says, is Fernando Mendoza really a reward? I think for any team out there that doesn't have a quarterback, absolutely. I don't think Fernando Mendoza look, when you watch Fernando Mendoza, I don't think that he makes you feel as warm and fuzzy inside as what you were whenever you were watching Joe Burrow back in the day. But I think this kid has all the tools to be a very, very good NFL quarterback. And really, that's up to the development of Fernando Mendoza with the Raiders. And I think that's where the stickiness lies here. How good of an organization is the Raiders? How good will he actually be there? Now, so the take that I had for years, and I actually think that this take, and I understand where my guys Jake and Elliot and Casey and Reed and these guys, I understand their skepticism of mine, and I'm being nice by saying skepticism. They hated my take on this. I understand what they're saying, that, hey, the NFL's not broke. Why would you fix it? I agree with that. I really wouldn't push to change the NFL. However, the NFL does exactly what all the other sports do, and yet we always talk about how much we hate when teams tank. Well, this is how you eliminate it. So what I had pushed was my idea. I think that it would help the NFL more than the NBA, at least I would think. The NBA has a draft lottery, which is still flawed because the draft lottery is supposed to keep it to where, you don't have to be the worst team out there to get a high draft pick. It just, the worse you are, increases your probability of getting the ball with your number on it. There you go. But again, it's all still the same thing. Only the bad teams get rewarded in the NBA draft lottery. But what about those teams in the middle? What about those 500 teams that just missed the playoff because they weren't bad enough to be at the bottom of the league, but they sure as hell weren't good enough to be in the top of the league? So they're right there in the middle. They're swimming in mediocrity, but they're competitive. They're not good enough to win a lot of games, but they're sure as hell not bad, and yet they keep trying. They keep throwing their good players out there. They're winning some close games, losing some close games. They check off a lot of boxes. But because those teams decided to try for all 82 games or 17 games in the NFL, those teams get punished. How is it that those teams get punished, but we look at teams like the Arizona Cardinals and the Raiders and the Browns and others who are horrifically bad, and we say, hey, horrible season, but congratulations, we're going to reward you. But we look at teams in the NFL, I'll use teams from this season. You look at the Colts, who were 8-9, right? You look at the Ravens, who were 8-9. You look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons, who were 8-9. Teams that fought to the very end. Teams that didn't just say, oh, F it, we're not good enough to win the Super Bowl, so we might as well just trade away our good players and position ourselves to try to go get the number 1 overall pick to get the best player. No. To their credit, they kept winning. They kept competing. And it's not always just about winning. It's about competing. It's about not positioning yourself to lose games on purpose because, hey, the reward for losing games on purpose sure as hell beats us trying to win games, which is what it should all be about. And there has to be a way that you can come up with some kind of concept that would put every team in position to want to keep trying to win. And I believe that my suggestion forces every team to try to win, as opposed to what it is now, where if you are not a Super Bowl contender or a legit playoff contender, you really are questioning what the hell's the purpose of us winning games again? And you will never convince me that that's a healthy argument. You will never convince me that that is a healthy argument. So my suggestion, and I'm going to use the NFL as an example. All right, you look at the NFL this season, the Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks, the Patriots, all 14-win teams. They're the best teams in the league. You look at the teams at the bottom. You had 4 3-win teams, the Raiders, Jets, Titans, and Cardinals. There's the Browns and the Commanders sitting there with 5 wins, while the Giants have 4. Those are the worst teams in the league. But the Cardinals, the Titans, the Jets, the Raiders, the Giants, the Browns, we're going to spend so much time talking about the teams that weren't good and were not entertaining in the regular season are now the teams that we're going to spend all of our time on for the rest of February, March, and April. The teams that were not interesting, the teams that weren't talented, the teams that weren't good are somehow going to dominate all of our attention for the next 2 months leading into the draft because why? And then the teams that we're not going to talk about, those middle of the pack teams, those 9-8 Lions, the 8-9 Colts, and the Baltimore Ravens, who are 8-9, the Dallas Cowboys, those teams, we're disgusted by them. We won't talk about them hardly at all. They're going to pick later in the draft. They weren't, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Those teams were trying all season, knowing they weren't Super Bowl contenders, but knowing that they were good, competitive teams that were just going to keep trying to win, as opposed to rewarding the bottom. So here's how I would do it. I would look at the playoff teams. All those teams are winning teams. They're competitive teams. Not all of them are Super Bowl contenders, but they're all good, competitive teams. So you don't have to worry about those teams. They're good enough to win games, and they're competitive teams. Don't have to worry about them. I worry about the bottom of the league purposely not trying to win. That's a glaring issue in all professional sports, but hey, you keep rewarding them. So how do you stop that? I don't want to reward losing anymore. I want to reward the teams that keep trying, even though they're not Super Bowl contenders, that don't give up. They continue to fight. They continue to compete, so that me as a fan can continue to be invested into what you're doing, so that, hey, as fans, we could say, listen, I know you're not good enough to make the playoffs this year, but I want to feel like you are getting better and competing and trying each week. And you cannot say that about more than a third of the teams in the NFL, in the NBA, Major League Baseball, name the professional sport. So you have all the teams that made the playoffs from the top, the Denver Broncos, the Seahawks, the Patriots, all the way to the teams that just snuck into the playoff, like the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though technically not them because they won the division. But I mean, teams like the Packers at 9-7. But you look at the teams that just missed the playoffs. I talked about the Packers, who are 9-7. They made the playoffs. How about the Minnesota Vikings? How about the Minnesota Vikings, right? When you look at how all of that kind of transpired, how all of that went down, you have a team in the Arizona and the Minnesota Vikings, who I'm looking at right now, who finished the season, 9-8, competitive, and they were a 500 team. They continued to compete and fight to the very end. They're not a bad team, but they're not rewarded for anything. They're punished for trying to be competitive. They're picking way later in the draft now. That's the team I want to reward more than the Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Vikings deserve to have a higher draft pick because they tried and competed all season. They should be rewarded with the number 1 draft pick. The teams at the bottom who were not talented and were not good and were not trying, why are we rewarding them? The draft order should start. The first team that missed the playoff is where you start the draft order. So that team would be the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings should be the number 1 team picking right now. Now, how does that make the league better? Well, if the middle of your league is right there, there are 7, 8-win teams, and they miss the playoff. But they're winning 6, 7, 8 games. They're competitive teams. They're good. There's something there to work with. You give those teams a kick in the ass with this, and an infusion of talent coming out of the draft. Now the top part of your league is healthy. The middle part of your league is healthy. The top part of the league's always winning and competing. The middle of your league is now significantly better. Now they're winning and competing, trying to fight for a playoff spot. Now, how does that make the bottom half of your league better? The bottom third of your league better? Well, again, if the incentive is, hey, the more competitive you are, you want to win games to improve your draft stock. You want to win games to improve your draft order. Now there's incentive across the board for all teams to be competing no matter what the week is, no matter whether it's week 17, 16, 17, 18, it doesn't matter. You want to keep trying to win football games. Oh, you're eliminated from the playoffs. Who cares? You're still going to go out there and continue to try to win football games. Why? Because the more games we win, the better our spot in the draft order. Well, how do you get better if you're not getting the good players? Well, that's the beauty part of a salary cap league, is because you got to spend money. You got to make better decisions in free agency. You got to be more aggressive with trades. There's going to be more activity in free agency, more activity with trades. There's going to be more activity of front office personnel making decisions to improve their roster versus saying, F it. Let's just get a top draft pick and we'll worry about this later. That's how you fix it. Well, again, you can't get better if you don't draft good play. Once again, I don't care. If you don't want to have to spend a lot of money to try to fix your roster, then you've got to try to draft really well, be competitive, win games. Now the bottom teams are forced to compete to win games. The middle of the league is much better, and they're putting a lot of pressure on the top teams that made the playoffs. Everyone's winning. Not everyone's winning at the same level, but everyone's competing to win. That you can't say that about today's NFL. You can't say that about the NBA. Now, the counter arguments to my end is leave the draft alone. It's not broken. You're right. The NFL, you really don't need to make these changes in the NFL. The NFL is king. It is fine. But when you really think about the concept of teams being rewarded for losing, I have a hard time with that. And that's coming from a fan of a losing team. More times than not, my team benefits from the current draft model. I would actually almost do a disservice to my team pushing the model that I want, because then my team would never get good players coming out of the draft. Well, I mean, not but I mean, I want my organization. I want to feel like my organization, that every decision they make is about winning and winning now and winning for the future, not tanking, not losing on purpose. We got to lose so that we can get talent. Why? So you can lose with that talent? The NBA is an absolute disgrace right now. It's a disaster across the board. 937-518-1410. We'll have Jason Fitz on coming up here around the corner, but curious your guys' thoughts. I will never, I don't know why media does this. I don't know why fans do. I can't believe that the NBA, there's so much tanking in the NBA. It's not that hard to believe. It's not that hard to believe. The worse you are, the more rewards you get. I mean, think about, like, what's the whole purpose of, like, when you're a parent and you're giving your kids an allowance, you're trying to teach them life skills and responsibility early on. What if you told your kid, hey, when you wake up in the morning, instead of making your bed, make sure you keep your bed messy. We'll reward you for it. Why would they want to make their bed? Why would they want to clean their room? Why would they want to help with the dishes? Why would they want to help around the house? There's no incentive to doing it. In fact, the crappier of a kid you are, the more money you get. That's professional sports. Hey, why don't you try to spend more money in the offseason? Why don't you try to be more aggressive at the trade deadline? Why don't you try to improve your roster so you can go win football? What, do you think I'm a loser? Why would I try to win games? That would make me a loser. I need to lose games. That's how you become a winner. You see how stupid that sounds? And that's exactly what professional sports is. You get rewarded for being ass. It doesn't make sense. Joe Burrow is in Cincinnati because you guys sucked. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are in Cincinnati because you guys sucked. You shouldn't have been rewarded for that. Now, you guys should also like my idea, because the Bengals are one of the teams the last couple of years while missing the playoffs. They would have been picking in the top 3 every single year while missing the playoffs, because they were 9-8. They were a competitive team. They weren't good enough to win the Super Bowl. They didn't really believe that they could make the playoffs, but they just kept trying. They kept winning. That's why I appreciate Zach Taylor. I appreciate the minds in that room, because they said, hey, we've had some setbacks, but we're going to keep winning. We're going to keep competing. We're going to take some momentum into the offseason. Imagine being a team that keeps trying, that keeps winning, that takes momentum into the offseason and gets rewarded with it with a better draft pick. That's how you improve the league. That's how you improve the NFL, and that's sure as hell at least a step in the right direction as far as how you fix the NBA. 937-518-1410. Curious your guys' thoughts. Jump in on the chat. We'll be right back.
Think of the most exciting team in Dayton, it's okay if you don't think of the doctors and therapists at Premier Health. We don't have jerseys or trading cards. We don't get primetime coverage. We don't sell out arenas, have good drip, or autograph sessions. We're just happy to be your team's favorite team.
And now, Public Education Matters with Ohio Education Association President Jeff Wensing.
Black history is American history. And when we have honest, age-appropriate conversations with our students about our history, the good and the bad, we can pave the way to make a better future for all of us. This Black History Month, let's come together and stand up for our students' freedom to learn.
Public Education Matters, brought to you by the Ohio Education Association.
KTH Parts Industries in St. Paris is now hiring and has increased the hourly wage of $22.48. That's right. KTH is looking for elite production associates, including press operators, overhead crane operators, and forklift operators. Apply today. KTH offers excellent benefits, including medical, dental, and 401k. KTH is a short drive from Bellefonte, Troy, Piqua, and Urbana. Upgrade your career and be valued by a company that really cares about you. Apply now at kth.net, an equal opportunity employer.
Hi, I'm Maria, salon owner. You know the jingle. Now discover the facts about Ozempic, a GLP-1. There's only one FDA-approved Ozempic made by Novo Nordisk. Learn about the real thing.
Talk to your healthcare professional today. Call 1-833-OZEMPIC or visit Ozempic.com to view the medication guide and to learn more about Ozempic. Semaglutide injection 0.5, 1, and 2 milligrams.
Are you ready to tackle this tax season alone? Well, you don't have to. Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services, with its 30-plus years of experience, is here to help you with business and individual taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll, either in person, drop-off, or through their secure client portal. Belmont Business Consultants in Eaton and Dayton is standing by. Call them in Eaton at 937-472-3300 or in Dayton at 937-252-2217 or on the web at belmontbctxs.com.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed. Hey, Cordell Transportation is now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers, excellent pay, benefits, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Apply right now, online at CordellTransportation.com. Do it right now. Driven to succeed.
Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle is more than a tax preparer. We're your friend. Stop and see Michael Maxwell and Joe Tannis at their new office at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Whether you have personal or business taxes, Michael and Joe are here to take care of all the details for you, down to the last penny. Allow our experience to ease the burden of doing it yourself. Make an appointment at 937-543-5770 or online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where our target is your satisfaction.
Talk about stepping up! Bang! It's time to level up your game. Introducing the all-new ESPN app. All of ESPN, all in one place. Your home for the most live sports and the best championship moments.
The electricity is palpable.
Step up your game with no annual contract required. It's the ultimate fan experience. Level up for more on the ESPN app or at stream.espn.com. Sign up now.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports will join us coming up here around the corner. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's only afternoon sports talk program. Excited to be with you here on a Thursday. We are Dayton's radio home for Wright State basketball. Wright State, a 10.5-point favorite tonight at home. They have Detroit in town, and we'll have that for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Wright State looking to pick up their 17th win of the season. They're still sitting atop the Horizon League. They have 6 games remaining, including tonight's matchup with Detroit. They beat Detroit on the road a few weeks ago. That's really when things started taking off for Wright State. Again, they've been in first place pretty much all, since January got here. They've been sitting atop the conference, coming off of a big win last week against Fort Wayne and looking to keep that momentum going here tonight. We have tickets, 937-518-1410. Text Raiders to 937-518-1410 while the allotment of tickets we have. First come, first serve. You text that number, you text Raiders. We'll start shooting those out here during these commercial breaks coming up and make sure that you get tickets to the game coming up later on tonight at the Nutter Center. So I opened up the show talking about tanking in sports and how I'm tired of hearing people act shocked that, acting shocked that so many teams are going through, especially in the NBA, through so many lengths to position their teams to lose. How are you shocked by that? We literally tell the worst teams in the league, hey, congratulations on being bad. Here's a really good player for you. And then we tell the teams that just missed the playoffs, that are competitive to fight for a final seed in the playoff and just miss it. And we punish those teams who try and, to be honest, are a lot closer to being the type of product you want, which is a winning product. Those teams are a lot closer to that. And we punish those. What if we rewarded the teams that try all season? What if we reward the teams that are this close to being the competitive, good, quality team that carries your ratings in the playoffs? Why don't you help nudge that along? I have no idea why we continue to send the best players in college to the worst teams in the NFL every season and wonder why it took Sam Darnold 5 freaking teams to figure it out. We wonder why Baker Mayfield gets drafted, shows some promise. Everyone gives up on him, and there's a reason why he's flourished once he, goes to a functional organization. You know how you prevent those horrific case studies right there? You know how you prevent those dumb stories from happening? Stop rewarding the bad organizations by giving them the best talent to squander. Sam Darnold is a hell of a story. Just won a Super Bowl. Will he win another one? Who knows? But did you ever think you'd see him win one as the guy? I didn't, and I know you didn't either. Stop rewarding the bad organizations, the Jets, the Browns, the Bengals. You could sit there and say, well, what do you mean the Bengals? They at least got to a Super Bowl. Exactly, which makes what they've done since so much more embarrassing. The Browns have a more recent playoff appearance than the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Browns are horrific. That's how bad it is. That's why I think what Cincinnati has done since getting Joe Burrow is way more embarrassing than the Browns never being able to figure it out, because I think we could all agree if Cleveland ever does get the quarterback situation figured out with that defense and the run game and everything else, they'll be fine. But I think it's way more embarrassing to fail when you find a generational franchise quarterback like Joe Burrow than an organization who can never find the right quarterback. I think that's way worse. So we keep rewarding those dysfunctional organizations. The Bengals get rewarded for being dysfunctional and horrible. Here's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. And what have you done with it? 2 playoff appearances in 6 years. Oofa. 3 straight missed playoffs. Stop rewarding crappy organizations like that. Stop rewarding the Browns. Stop rewarding the Jets. The Cardinals. It's the same teams every single year. 7 of every 10 years, it's the same teams picking in the top 10. Never fails. Stop rewarding those teams. Why don't you reward those teams who are right there in the middle of the pack? For instance, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. The league wants Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in the mix for the playoffs and the Super Bowl. But you're going to punish the Ravens because they won 8 games last year and just missed the playoffs. So they're going to get a worse draft pick. But you're going to reward the Jets? You're going to reward the Raiders, but punish Lamar Jackson and the Ravens because, hey, they had a lot not go their way, but they kept fighting, kept competing, kept winning games down the stretch. You're going to punish them? The draft order should start for the first team that misses the playoff. That's where you start your draft order and work your way back. Instead of the team that wins the Super Bowl getting the last pick in the draft, it's the worst team in football. Hey, you didn't try to compete. You weren't very good. We're not going to continue to send good talent your way if you're not going to do anything with it. If you want talent, go pay for it. Go buy it. Now, free agents are getting paid. You have the worst team in the league trying to spend money to bring players there to compete and win. Everyone's winning. Everyone's competing. I think that's how you fix it. Stop rewarding losing. Until you stop incentivizing the losing, tanking will exist in every sport. Baseball, football, basketball, it doesn't matter. Stop rewarding the losers. And until you do that, we will always be talking about tanking in sports. So there you go. All right, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Yeah, Ron Howard says the strength of schedule also. I mean, the NFL does so much to pamper bad teams. Hey, if you sucked last year, if you sucked in 2025, we're going to give you the best draft picks and we're going to give you the easiest schedule next year. Why does that make sense? What, like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, teams who won your division, made it to the playoffs, we're not going to give you good players, and we're going to make you play an even tougher schedule next year. Screw you, right? Like, they just basically flip off the competitive teams. It doesn't make any sense. Why do professional leagues love to punish winning? The more you win, we punish you with the worst draft pick. The more you win, the more we're going to give you a tougher schedule the next year. Ron, thank you for pointing that out. I forgot all about that aspect of it as well. It doesn't make any sense. But the crappier you are, hey, I know you're really bad at your job, so here's a really good quarterback that you're going to screw up. Hey, and while you're screwing up that quarterback, we're going to give you a really easy schedule that you're still going to lose a lot of games in. Make it make sense. Because it doesn't. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
As America's #1 motorcycle insurer, Progressive has your back.
Oh, like roadside assistance.
Oh yeah, Progressive offers that.
Great. Do you have plans Saturday? My cousin canceled and I'd love to have someone to ride with.
Actually, we just do insurance, not riding buddies.
Cool, let's meet at noon. Actually, scratch that. 10 a.m., you and me, breakfast at a diner.
To be clear, Progressive has your back for insurance only. So get a quote and see if you can save.
Okay, so if you beat me there, get me the Lumberjack special. We can share.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Roadside assistance may require comprehensive coverage.
This is Carla Hall for Eggland's Best. Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm-fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties, we've got classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. With a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Do you have an oak tree in your yard? The Ohio Chapter International Society of Arboriculture is committed to advancing responsible tree care practices while preventing a fungal disease called oak wilt. They remind those who own and manage oak trees the best time to prune is November to early March. To find out more, there are over 1,000 qualified tree experts in Ohio. To find an ISA-certified arborist in your area, visit treesforohio.org. That's trees, the number 4, ohio.org.
ABS, TPMS, CVT, VVT, the auto industry loves its alphabet soup, but at Carroll Works Tire in Dayton, we keep it simple. The only acronym you need to remember is TIRE. Trust, integrity, reliability, expertise. That's what we deliver every day. Carol Wirtz Tire, keeping Dayton rolling with TIRE service you can count on. Find us online at C-W Tire or talk to a real human, 937-461-5441.
Did you know you can stop the spread of STIs by using Condom Sense? Yes, Condom Sense is when you correctly use latex condoms every time. They are highly effective in reducing the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases. To learn more about using condoms, how to get free condoms, and how to get tested for STIs, call Public Health Dayton and Montgomery County at 937-225-5700. Let's use Condom Sense and stop the spread of STIs.
Hey, y'all, it's the Rocket Roger Clemens here. Spent a lot of time pitching heat. Years later, the pain in my joints remind me of those days, but I'm not looking to sit still, and I definitely am not interested in going under the knife. That's why I chose QC Kinetics.
Not just for elite retired athletes. QC Kinetics gives everyday folks joint pain relief using regenerative treatments that work with your body to help repair joint damage.
No surgery, no long recovery, whether it's your knees, hips, shoulders, or back. My friends at QC Kinetics will help you get moving again so you can get back to doing the things you love.
QC Kinetics medical professionals will look at your x-rays or MRI to determine if you're a good candidate.
I trusted QC Kinetics to help me feel like myself again, and I'm proud to recommend them to you.
Call QC Kinetics today and schedule your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
We are Dayton's radio home for Cincinnati Reds baseball. It's kind of wild right now. A week from Saturday, we'll have you'll start hearing Reds baseball right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Spring training, every spring training game, every regular season game, and hopefully more than just 2 playoff games you'll be able to hear right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. But the season's almost here. And, I mean, for some, basically, they do consider it here. Look, when you're a team like the Reds that, yes, has a competitive roster now, but still a relatively young roster, I still look forward to spring training. I still look forward to seeing some of these exhibition at-bats just to see what kind of growth we've seen. I don't know how much stock I put into a lot of spring training stats by any means, but you still get a good feel for who's seeing the ball well, who's hitting the ball well, and I think a lot of people are going to be keeping an eye out for that. Relatively healthy. The only injury update I've seen is Christian Encarnacion Strand. And, I mean, I don't wish injury upon anybody, but I don't think that injury really concerns me because I don't really know what Christian Encarnacion Strand's role is on this team moving forward, especially since acquiring Eugenio Suarez. At first base, Sal Stewart's going to be predominantly playing at first base all season. Spencer Steer is a great secondary first baseman to play. I mean, he was at a Gold Glove level last year at first base defensively, and he's your left fielder. Sal Stewart's your first baseman. You know what I mean? Like, Eugenio Suarez is your designated hitter. He'll play at third when Ke'Bryan Hayes isn't playing at third. You have Matt McClain at second. Shortstop is Ellie's, like right field. Obviously, like everyone has their spot right now, and they have a secondary and another spot. Everyone has their role, I think, now. I don't know what the role of Christian Encarnacion Strand would be, and it's disappointing because the bat that we're seeing of Sal Stewart is what we were expecting from Christian Encarnacion Strand, and at times showed signs of being able to swing the bat at that level. Now, Alvin Marte is going to get that timing right. TJ Friedel in center, Steer in left. Christian Encarnacion Strand doesn't really calculate into those outfield plans. You have Will Benson, and, you made some additions in the offseason. But there's one more name I'm curious your guys' thoughts on because there is some news that came out earlier today on a name that I would love to see in Cincinnati, especially considering these circumstances. A couple years ago, the Reds were very fortunate. If you guys remember, it's actually more than a couple years ago. Damn, it's 2026. This happened in 2019, 2020. COVID happened a long time ago. I say COVID because the 2020 season was just completely flipped upside down because of COVID, right? And the Reds, one of my favorite off seasons ever was during that stretch heading into that COVID-shortened 60-game season. It was the year that the Reds got super aggressive. You had Jesse Winker, right? Like, you had a lot of guys that you had, called, you developed through the system, called up, you'd seen enough. You realized, man, we didn't develop as many positions as what we would have liked. So we're going to have to go spend some money to fill some of these holes. And they added Mike Moustakas. They went out and got Nick Castellanos, Shogo Akiyama. I know did not work out, but at the time there was a lot of teams vying to get Shogo Akiyama. As the talent from Japan that has kind of come in, into the league, and just, especially foreign talent in general that has just dominated Major League Baseball. Anytime you can get one of those prospects to come over, that was a ginormous win for the Reds. And it brought a lot of eyes to the Reds. It brought a lot of attention to the Reds. Had that worked out, that would have been massive. It did not, obviously. But that was also coming off of a season where they traded for Trevor Bauer. They had got Sonny Gray the year before. You had Luis Castillo. I love that offseason. The Reds were super aggressive that offseason. And it almost kind of paid off. I mean, you got your money's worth from Nick Castellanos, who had such a monster year with the Reds that ultimately they couldn't afford to give him the extension that he deserved. And he would go on to get a nice contract over with the Phillies. He signed an extension with the Phillies after that initial run. And things have officially come to an end in Philly. I'm a big Nick Castellanos fan. I thought he was phenomenal during his time in Cincinnati. And one of the biggest reasons that I love Nick Castellanos is because he defended Reds fans more than any star in my lifetime of being a Reds fan. I don't remember the last time a Reds player had come out and spoke against the front office in defense of the fans. Say what you want about how poorly run the Reds organization is. I don't know if it's viewed as that as commonly as what you think. Nick Castellanos wanted to be a Red. He was angry that, he was not approached about his time being extended in Cincinnati. And why would they not? They didn't have a lot of talent that they could build around. That was a perfect piece to keep in Cincinnati. And they chose, now we're good. And they let him go. And he spoke out and talked about how Reds fans deserve better, that front office continues to let that fan base down, and that it's frustrating because talent wants to play in Cincinnati. There's guys in the league that want to be a Red, and they continuously shut the door on their face. And it doesn't make sense. He was a starting all-star. He started in the outfield in the National League for the All-Star game that year in 2021, and the Reds just let him walk. They just let him go. I don't get it. I was never a fan of that decision, always a fan of Nick Castellanos, and I loved him even more whenever he ripped the Reds front office. And it wasn't sour grapes because, they pissed him off because they wouldn't sign him. He was just revealing the truth. Hey, he wanted to be a Red. There's a lot of players who do want to be a Red, and they just let them go. Like, they don't even entertain it. It's just, he said, he defended you, the Reds fan. He said, you deserve better. And when he said that, I looked at him and said, that's one of my favorite Reds right there, even though he was only here for a cup of tea. Because that's what I want out of my players, is players defending the fan. We can only complain so much because we're dumb fans, and we're going to continue to go to games even though we complain about our organization and our front office. And by us continuing to go to games, we bail out the same people that we're frustrated with. So no one really defends the fan. Nick Castellanos did, and because of that, I've always been a big fan of his since then. Well, earlier today, the Philadelphia Phillies outright released Nick Castellanos. Okay? He has $20 million remaining on his contract. And Philly has to eat that, which makes Nick Castellanos very, very, very affordable. All right. Any team that signs Nick Castellanos would owe him the MLB minimum of $780,000. That for 1 year, less than $1 million. That's how much it will cost to sign Nick Castellanos to your roster. I would love Nick Castellanos in Cincinnati, especially for $780,000. Now, some of you will talk about his splits. Some of you will talk about the fact that he only hit 250 last year. Some of you will talk about, hey, for a guy that you look at, to help you with power, only had 17 home runs last year, he still drove in 72 RBIs. And once again, if I can get 15 to 25 home runs and 70 to 80 RBIs, and another outfield, reliable veteran outfield piece for $780,000, I think that the Reds would be stupid not to. I think the Reds would be ridiculous not to. I will be really I think that, it's one of those where if you had to pay him $5 million for a season, I get why the Reds wouldn't do it. I would understand if Philly would eat some of the money and not all of the money. I would see why the Reds wouldn't want to do it. But we are talking about a league minimum. Who else are you going to get for the league minimum that can produce 15 to 25 home runs, 70 to 80 home runs, and hit 250? I will take it. I will take a 250 hitter with 17 home runs and 70 RBIs for $780,000. Why would the Reds not be in on that? It doesn't make any sense. So he started 12 of the team's 25 games in the month of September last year, which is what kind of led to them getting off on the wrong foot. He had a bad relationship with the manager there and Rob Thompson. I'm sorry. I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. $780,000 to me for a guy that could hit 250, and let's just say that comes down to 240. I mean, I don't get it. If I'm the Reds, I'm all over it. They need more depth in the outfield. And he's not like a superstar outfielder by any means, but he's played here before. We enjoyed his time here. I think I think when you look at the power that you added with Eugenio Suarez, the capable power, I also think the reason his numbers declined as drastically as they did is mentally he wasn't in it. He didn't get along with the manager. His playing, he was benched for a lot of games. He wasn't getting a lot of opportunity. I think in Cincinnati, I think he would flourish again. He would get that he would be re-energized. He would play with a talented, I think it's a talented outfield group. It's just not nearly close to being the best outfield group. I think there's some talent there. Noelvi Marte, Spencer Steer. That's really how I would really look at this. I think Nick Castellanos could still produce. I think if he came in and he was being viewed as the guy, or at least give him an opportunity, I think it would be absolutely insane for the Reds not to do this. $780,000 for a league minimum to get a guy that only hit 17 home runs, but was also being benched and sat for a lot of games last year because he didn't get along with the manager. You have Terry Francona to manage egos like this. This is why you have a Terry Francona. I want Nick Castellanos in Cincinnati. The potential of Nick Castellanos in Cincinnati, I think, is huge. And then we talk about all the time, this team needs veteran players, not veteran, journeyman players. I'm talking about veteran star players like Castellanos. Does he still have star production in him? I think he has solid production left in him, but I think you need veteran players who still produce, that can lead by example, and I think he could do that with Eugenio Suarez, with all the talent they added to the bullpen and the rotation. I'm a big Nick Castellanos fan. I think it'd be ridiculous of the Reds not to do it. Honestly, I want Nick Castellanos in Cincinnati for a league minimum. Again, if this is a guy that, if the Phillies were trading him away and we're only going to pay for half of the remaining dollars and the Reds were responsible for the other 10, I would say no way. They paid it all. He's outright released. You could sign him for the league minimum. Now, the only way I see the Reds not getting him is if, someone else is willing to pay a little more, but I don't see that being the case either. So, Nick Castellanos, Cincinnati, I want to see them we saw them reunite, of course, with EO. I would love to see the same thing with Castellanos. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Let's talk with Jason Fitz when we come back. Jason Fitz took his show on the road last week, Super Bowl Media Row. He had Jay Glazer on. If you guys remember the clip of Jay Glazer that went viral when he was talking about he's going to be keeping his eye on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, that got everyone's attention. So we're going to have that for you coming up in hour number 2. We'll have Jason Fitz hang out with us, but we'll be right back. Let me know your thoughts. Well, that would help if I actually had the phone lines unlocked. My bad, guys. Phone lines have been locked. My apologies. Just unlocked them. 937-518-1410, 518-1410. Nick Castellanos in Cincinnati. Do you want to see it? Do you want that? I do. I think that, this isn't a very talented outfield to begin with. You have potential with Noelvi Marte. I like Will Benson in small doses, of course. Spencer Steer's a consistent hitter. I think TJ Friedel's an underrated center fielder. I just think it's missing something. I think if you're just going to have a group of misfits leading your outfield. Why not add Nick Castellanos, a veteran power hitter, into the mix? What am I missing? Why don't you want him? 937-518-1410. We'll discuss more when we come back.
$1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by
True Green. Stop doing it yourself and get a golf course quality lawn the easy way from the official lawn care treatment provider of the PGA Tour. Sign up today at truegreen.com.
Do you know what's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide? If you guessed Discover, you guessed right, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
When you think of the most exciting team in Dayton, it's okay if you don't think of the doctors and therapists at Premier Health. We don't have jerseys or trading cards. We don't get primetime coverage. We don't sell out arenas, have good drip, or autograph sessions. We're just happy to be your team's favorite team.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Are you ready to make a difference for the environment while helping the visually impaired at the same time? Then donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind today by calling 1-800-983-6530. Every donated vehicle will either be properly recycled in an eco-friendly manner or given a new life through reuse. Donating your vehicle is easy. Simply call 1-800-983-6530 and Heritage for the Blind will do the rest. They'll even arrange for your vehicle to be picked up at no cost to you. And for a limited time, when you donate your car, you'll receive a $200 restaurant voucher and a 2-night, 3-day hotel stay at one of 50 locations. Call 1-800-983-6530 right now to schedule your vehicle donation and make a positive impact on the environment while helping others. Heritage for the Blind, where every car donation counts and every person makes a difference. Call 1-800-983-6530 now. This advertisement is paid for by Heritage for the Blind.
Are you stuck staring at your W-2? Are tax refund worries holding you back? You probably have FOMO, the fear of messing up. The fix? Using TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. It's time to overcome your fear of messing up and get your taxes done right. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enon. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Our forecast, partly cloudy, 22 tonight. It'll be mostly sunny and 46 tomorrow and Saturday. Partly sunny and 51. I'm Rick Schremp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Without an Advent clinic nearby, people suffering needlessly from chronic nasal congestion and sinus infections would be stuck with either Band-Aid or sledgehammer solutions. Band-Aids are pills or nasal sprays, and they're not true solutions. Surgery is a sledgehammer, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Because most people don't need surgery for nose and sinus issues, nor do they want a 14-day recovery. Our unique Advent approach can, in 20 minutes in our office, open your blocked nose for good, with only 1 day recovery. I'm Advent founder Dr. Kandula. Outside of Advent's four walls, invasive surgery is what they'll recommend. But here you will find effective and convenient in-office solutions to help you stop the need for Band-Aids and avoid the sledgehammer.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better. Most insurance accepted.
Race to savings now at Menards. Update your room with Mohawk flooring. Dura-style vinyl plank flooring has the natural look of oak flooring and is durable, waterproof, and perfect for active households. It comes with an attached pad for a quick install, enhanced comfort, and sound reduction. It's on sale now through February 14th. View our weekly flyer on Menards.com and race to savings on more great flooring deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Can I take your coat?
Oh, you noticed? Yeah, I found it on eBay from a seller in Vegas. Pre-loved and perfect. She listed it and jackpot. Italian leather, classic trench silhouette. And did you see the braided buckle?
Hang on to your claim ticket.
Oh, I'll hang on to this forever. Have you been on eBay? There's so many finds. And I bet that diving watch would sell fast. Just saying.
Find what you love, sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
This is the story of the one. As the purchasing manager at a manufacturing plant, she knows the only thing more important than having the right safety gear is having it there when you need it. That's why she partners with Grainger for auto reordering, so her team members can count on her to have cut-resistant gloves on hand, and each shift can run safely and efficiently. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you ready to tackle this tax season alone? Well, you don't have to. Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services, with its 30-plus years of experience, is here to help you with business and individual taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll, either in person, drop-off, or through their secure client portal. Belmont Business Consultants in Eaton and Dayton is standing by. Call them in Eaton at 937-472-3300 or in Dayton at 937-252-2217 or on the web at belmontbctxs.com.
Hauer Music, one of the nation's largest music stores, is having an inventory sale. Yes, Hauer Music in Centerville is now celebrating 89 years with their largest sale of the year. Hauer's has all of your musical instrument needs, including guitars, drums, keyboards, pianos, band instruments, and so much more. Hauer Music was voted the #1 independent music store in Ohio by Guitar Player magazine, along with an Eclipse Award winner from the Better Business Bureau. Award-winning sales and service. That's why Hauer's is the best in Dayton. Hauer Music inventory sale going on now.
The new year is at Old English Outfitters, and so is the winter weather. Stop by their 50-yard climate-controlled archery range for the perfect cold weather activity. Beat the weather at Old English Outfitters in Tip City, Ohio.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is, fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Hi, Flo here to say that Progressive knows that life can change quickly, so it's good to have flexible coverage.
Oh, like when I have to take my ex off my policy.
Oh, sorry. But yes, we can do that.
And can you send them a message and tell them that they have trust issues that they need to work on?
We don't really get in the middle of these conflicts.
Also, can you let them know that I was faking interest in his band and it's probably time to grow up?
I'm not going to do it. Just know that with Progressive, you can easily make changes to your auto insurance because we know life changes.
Also, I'm staying in touch with his mom because she's absolutely lovely.
Bad idea.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. It's NBA All-Star Week. And every year we do this thing where the players get offended that we are so disgusted by their lack of an effort or give a damn. You know, I have no clue. The disconnect, I think that the NBA players are probably the worst of all the athletes when it comes to the disconnect between them and their fan base. Like, I don't sense that in other leagues. I don't sense that in baseball. I don't sense that in the NFL. I sense that in the NBA. I heard a clip from James Harden yesterday, who, by the way, I was not a fan of the James Harden trade at first, but and Kev ain't here today. Well, he was here today. He just ain't here now. But you think of James Harden, you just think of, a high volume shooter, right? Like I think we forget just how good of a playmaker he is. And what I've loved about the James Harden addition so far has just been the fact that he's come in and he's like, I think he only took a handful of shots last night. He's not coming in. He could come in. He could score. He could score in bunches. But I think really where I think he is going to make the biggest difference is his playmaking ability. Like, he makes players around him better if he leans into that, and maybe he will. And so far he has. But what he's going to do for players like Evan Mobley, what he's going to do, for a guy like Donovan Mitchell too. Donovan Mitchell could just be a playmaker down the stretch and just be a scorer and just take over games. I think that they complement each other better. I did not, because I'll sound like a hypocrite. I did not like the move. I did not want the move to happen at all. I thought it was a stupid move to make, but it's not his scoring. All right. It's the way he passes the ball, the way he gets his teammates involved. I mean, his playmaking ability to me is key. Look, Sam Merrill just went off last night. I think he had 9-10 threes, and I think 9 of them were in the first half. I think he finished with 12 threes, whatever it was, and I think 9 of them were in the first half. He finds guys cutting to the basket, open shooters, because, again, he can take you off the dribble and score, so he garners so much more defensive attention. I think he makes everyone around him better. The bigs, the guards, Donovan Mitchell. Now, they've played a bunch of nobodies. I get that. But as far as the flow of the offense and just the flow of the team, can't deny. I mean, they've beat, they haven't beat good teams. They beat Denver. All right. They beat Denver. They've it's been a good balance of good and bad teams or whatever, but Denver's 35-20. They're third in the West. The Cavs beat Denver the other night. So I'm a James Harden fan. I get it. I'm watching, you ever watch, one of your favorite movies and you know how it's going to end, but you keep watching it anyways. That's what I feel is like happening here. You're watching it as if, well, maybe the movie just magically has a different ending. Now we all know how this ends. I hope we're wrong, though. I hope I'm wrong. James Harden on a lot of teams has had to be the guy or to be the scorer or to be the closer. We've never seen James Harden be put in a position where he just has to be the guy that just distributes the basketball and lets the offense come to him. I'm watching him smile more now. He's running up and down there seems to be like a resurgence of James Harden, and I actually think he fits more on Cleveland than any other team in the league. He doesn't have to be the guy. And you could say, well, he didn't have to be the guy in LA either, because you have, when you look around the league, you have Kawhi Leonard and others. Well, you're right. If you could take injuries off the table and not have to talk about that and just talk about players who are, reliable, yeah. But too many times, James Harden, who shouldn't have had to be the guy, was put in a position to be the guy. He doesn't have to be the guy in Cleveland. That's why I think it's going to work. And I'm excited about what we saw yesterday. Yes, it was against a bad Washington team, but Sam Merrill, he's going to get a lot of those shots. And I think the reason Sam Merrill goes off like that too is because of the fact that he's walking out on that floor with just all the confidence in the world, because he knows nobody knows who I am and nobody cares who I am, because everyone is panicking about having to cover, Donovan Mitchell or covering James Harden on the floor. So you're going to have other shooters wide the F open, getting in a groove early. And then when defenses do cut out, when they start closing out on those shooters, now that's more one-on-one isolation opportunities. Then that gets the pick and roll. That gets the pick and pop. There's opportunities galore just from his presence on the floor alone. I actually think this is a bigger deal than I thought it was. I'll admit. Now, again, maybe I'm overreacting to just a few games. I don't think I am. I really like the addition to James Harden. I think the way him and Donovan Mitchell play together is huge. And we'll see. It's the NBA All-Star break. So we'll see, coming out, how this team attacks as far as that goes. But, definitely I'm very much interested in the Cavs. Because last year they got off to that, 16-17-0 start. I mean, they won a ton of games. They were flat come playoff time. They won a series. But, I thought that they missed an opportunity last year, especially when a lot of the good teams started going out, got beat up, got injured. I was like, man, this is Cleveland's path. You could beat the Knicks. You could get to the finals. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it last year. They could, you would think the Pacers, it's a series you should win. Now, the Pacers got to the finals last year. They couldn't do that against the Pacers. Nonetheless. All right. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. There's some NBA games tonight. Luke Kennard, by the way, playing with LeBron James over with the Lakers. They'll be in action. And then, of course, we won't see any more games until the weekend with the NBA All-Star game or All-Star weekend. And it's team stars against the world. It's the world players against the NBA American All-Stars. And I like this concept. I was listening to First Take and others earlier today, and they were trying to twist it into all this nonsense that, to me, that's what it is. It's nonsense. People are not picking on the American players. People are justified to criticize the American players because they don't give a damn. Keep in mind, this is the disconnect that the NBA All-Stars have with their fans. And this is why I don't get why they don't understand this. I heard a James Harden clip last night that bothered me. I meant to get into this earlier and I got sidetracked. James Harden said, he's tired of hearing about loyalty. There is no loyalty. There's no loyalty from the players, and there's no loyalty from the front office. And you could say that, and you could believe that, and that's actually the truth, but that's actually the problem. I hate when people try to compare our everyday jobs to professional sports. Well, in your line of work, wouldn't you follow the most money? I mean, in your line of work, if your company's not loyal to you, wouldn't you want out? Well, absolutely. But I also don't have large fan bases following me around. If I'm working in a factory, if I'm working in retail, if I'm working in an office setting, wherever I'm working, it's not the NBA. It's not professional sports. It's not a team environment as far as a following. James Harden makes the money he does, yes, because he's good at basketball, but it's because the customer, the fans. It's because the customer, the fans, right? You at your everyday job don't have fans that pay your salary. Your ability to do your job is why you have and your production is why you have your salary. NBA players don't get paid because they're good. They get paid because there's a large amount of fans who follow the NBA, and that's where that money comes from. There's a lot of people who are really good at what they do and don't get paid a whole hell of a lot because they don't have large groups of people that invest into their product. It's that simple. So when James Harden says things like, well, there is no loyalty. It's a business. There's a lot of money going around, and it's a two-way street. Actually, it's not a two-way street. Might be a two-way street, but there's a bike lane on the side, and that's called the fans. And you always seem to forget about the fans. And because players don't give a blank about the fans, that's why the popularity is dropping. That's why no one gives a damn about the NBA anymore. That's, you know what I mean? And I shouldn't say anymore because there's a small pocket of people who seem to not care that the athletes don't care about them in return. That's weird to me. The fans matter more than anything. The fans matter more than anything. And what do NBA players do to give back to the fans? I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around that. The regular season, we as the fans pay to watch you, and you don't give an effort. You constantly are load managing, constantly resting. The NBA All-Star game, we're going to charge a crap ton of money for the All-Star game because, hey, all of our stars are in one building, and the All-Star game is for the fans. And you basically just say, we don't care. Kevin Durant, they don't care about it. We don't care about it. Well, screw you, buddy. That game isn't technically for you. It's supposed to be a show for the fans. Kevin Durant is not a millionaire because he's good at basketball. He's a millionaire because a lot of people watch the NBA. That's why. He makes millions and millions and millions of dollars because dopes like me watch dopes like him disrespect us. Not the other way around. Oh, because we're mean on social media. Yeah, people suck on social media, but you suck for not giving a damn about the fans in return. And just because you say, man, I love the fans, I care about the fans, and those opportunities where you've had to prove it, you haven't done it. I'm using Kevin Durant just because he was very vocal on a podcast recently, and that's what led to this conversation. But NBA players drive me nuts. They're always the victim. Fans are always the bully. They're always the problem, which, by the way, yes, we all, fans need to act with the be more respectful at games. Stop yelling insults and all, not insults, but like stop saying the magical words that get you ejected from games. I mean, those people, there's no room for those people at games. Absolutely. But I do believe the players have become soft. Social media, the rabbit ears on the floor. Like, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. The league is losing its popularity. Like the All-Star game is supposed to be a weekend where it highlights the talent in the fun part of your league. And every year at this time of year, the league just gets bashed. They should just get rid of the All-Star game for a while. Honestly, in all seriousness, the All-Star game is just nothing but a week of everyone bashing the league. I would just get rid of it. The players don't want to play in it. The fans are pissed because the players don't care. The fans are pissed because the league charges you as if the players do care. And then when the fans get pissed and complain, the fans are told that they're selfish, that they don't look at the players as human and blah, blah, blah. And I've always rolled my eyes at that stuff because the bottom line is I love when people they over-romanticize these athletes. Don't say that. Joe Burrow's had a bad day. Joe Burrow wouldn't give a damn if you lost your house tomorrow. Joe Burrow wouldn't call you and ask how your day is going. If you lost your job, Joe Burrow doesn't give a rip, okay? So why is it that when Joe Burrow has a bad day and he's talking about his feelings at a press conference, Justin Kinner in Dayton is supposed to get out his prayer beads and just get on his knees and bow down and pray that everything gets better? No, it's not that I don't care, but I don't care. I have my own problems. I don't make $55 million a year. I'm sorry. I just can't relate that you have it rough. I don't. And that's not just a Burrow thing. That's all professional athletes. Like, I don't want to hear it. The fans pay a lot of money who don't nearly make the money you do. They make a lot of money. They pay a lot of money to go watch you not give an effort, not give a damn, then go watch you in the regular season, not give an effort, not give a damn. And then when people reach their boiling point and let you know about it on social media, they're the a-holes. They're the jerks. No, it's a you thing. The NBA has a problem, man. And like, it drives me up the wall. Drives me up the wall. It's a professional athlete thing too. I think professional athletes, I mean, how many athletes have they said, man, it's tough to live off $1 million, Odell Beckham Jr. I don't think you realize how tough it is to only live, when you make oh yeah. T's and P's, my guy. T's and P's. Just like a lot of the passes you dropped in the NFL, you dropped that take right there. That's a pretty bad one. That's a bad one. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We're going to hang out coming up around the corner with Jason Fitz from Yahoo Sports. So we'll be right back. 937-518-1410. NBA All-Star. And people said, well, how come, when the NHL All-Star game, when they did theirs against the world, everyone thought that was a great thing. But when we do it, it's a horrible thing. Because it shouldn't be the NBA versus the world. It should be the East versus the West. But they've had to come up with all these stupid gimmicks for the All-Star game to find a way to see what can get you guys to give a rip. Well, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. You know what? It shouldn't be it shouldn't be captains picking their players. It shouldn't be NBA versus the world. It should be, this is an all-star game, and all of our awesome league fans around the league, this is a chance to put the league on a huge platform and let all of our stars be viewed all in one spot, and then use that excitement to build on the popularity of the sport heading to the back end. No, they don't do that. The All-Star Week just pisses fans off even more, and they check out even more. To where if you got rid of the All-Star game altogether, we wouldn't feel that, oh my God, the All-Star game, they don't care. The All-Star game is a constant reminder of the continuous things that they do to try to incentivize. That's why I hate the play-in tournament. The play-in tournament, it would be a good idea if it was just a organic good idea, but it's not a good idea. It's literally a way to try to find a way to get these guys to give a damn. That's crazy to me. These professional athletes need motivation because money's not it anymore. I love as a kid, I was obsessed with the NBA, and I want to be obsessed with the NBA, but I can't tune in to any kind of sports talk about the NBA without it being about, oh, the athletes feel bullied. Kevin Durant feels bullied. They try to twist it into some like social stuff that's not what this is. People are not being racist to the NBA players because they're saying that they're lazy because they're not trying. We're saying you're lazy because you don't try in the All-Star game. That's why we're saying you're lazy. There's no other reason why you're being called lazy. None. So don't deflect it to that and say, oh, it's because the fans are being racist by calling you lazy. That's what I heard on First Take today. I could have thrown my phone at the TV. Are you kidding me? We're calling you lazy because you're not trying. It's the whole definition of lazy. You don't try in the regular season. You don't try in the All-Star game. You try in the playoffs, which that's great. But the NBA season's a long season. The fans spend a lot of money. We spend a lot of time trying to watch in person or on TV or follow online, whatever. It takes more. We put in more effort trying to find your games on TV to watch it than you actually put forth in playing on the floor. And then to turn around and tell the fans that they're the problem. You guys are the problem. How come you guys don't blame Luka? Blah, blah, blah. We do. This wasn't, the Americans are the problem or a certain particular group of players is a problem. It's a problem across the league. Luka doesn't play any defense, which, by the way, it's why everyone's bitching and moaning and complaining. How could the Dallas Mavericks trade Luka? I think you kind of see it in LA. I think there's a lot of super talented scorers in the NBA that you could find. It's very rare to come across a guard that can actually defend. And I actually think Cooper Flagg is going to be way better for Dallas than what Luka was. And actually, it's probably going to work out. But no one. I'm just so tired of hearing that stuff. Stop it. Play hard. The guys in the 80s and 90s and 70s, 80s, 90s, they could play hard. They could have a tough, rough, grueling regular season and still play hard in the All-Star game. I just don't get it. The NBA ticks me off because I want to like the sport again. I want to love the sport again. And there's part of it that I do. And then I'll tune in and I'll have a good time watching. And then the post game, someone's complaining because the fans suck because blah, 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 blah. It's always the fans are the problem. The fans are the players who don't want to play. The players who get paid millions of dollars, who don't want to play, who don't play hard when they do play, they're the problem, not the fans. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Jason Fitz joins us next.
Let's go! You've still got it, but your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Sponsored by Pfizer.
We'll admit, we've already thrown in the towel on the New Year's resolution.
Yeah, and we made it through dry January. But one healthy new habit we're sticking with is Active Liver from New Nordic. Did you know your liver works around the clock processing food, sugar, alcohol, and everyday toxins? All things that can really impact your health.
That's why daily support matters. Active Liver is designed to help protect normal liver function and support your body's natural detox process.
With trusted ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and artichoke extract, it's gentle enough to take all year long.
No harsh cleanses, no extreme detoxes, just simple daily liver support. We really feel the difference.
Yup, more energy and the peace of mind knowing we can enjoy the good things in life while giving our liver the love it needs.
Active Liver is available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com. Or you can find it in stores at CVS, Meijer Grocery, Wegmans, and now Active Liver is available at your local GNC.
Choose one of Wendy's new Biggie deals. For a pretty Biggie deal, gotta be Wendy's. U.S. price and participation may vary.
You can make the decision right now to get lasting relief from that awful joint pain. Don't go another year compromising because of that pain in your knees or shoulder. Call QC Kinetics now. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. The future of pain treatment has arrived, and QC has tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. This is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. If this is the year you decide to fight back against that pain, take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. Get a free consultation on your calendar today. Call 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking about who is going to do my taxes this year. Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael Maxwell and Joe Tanis today, 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Arrowhead Tax Service gives back to the community through athletics and nonprofits, and all new clients save 10% off. Online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction.
For 100 days, I'm going to cross the 7 continents because the answers to everything important are out there at the edges of our world. I'm stepping into the unknown. Where are we going? To see our planet as it's never been seen before. From pole to pole.
Pole to Pole with Will Smith from National Geographic. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Show me the way.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And now at Mattress Firm, save up to $700.
All right, and we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. College basketball continues on. We have Wright State basketball coming up later on tonight. 7 o'clock, the tip-off, 6:45. We'll have early pregame coverage for you. So we'll hear from Chris Collins, Jim Brown. They'll be on the call coming up later on tonight. Wright State still sitting in first place atop the Horizon League, of course, and really doesn't matter about the regular season. It's all about the conference tournament, but seeding and positioning yourself for a deep conference tournament run is important. And we'll talk more about that with Paul Frischner from the Rebound Rundown coming up here in just a little bit as well. Again, I'm Justin Kinner. We welcome you back. And well, let's bring on our next guest. Last week, he was at the Super Bowl doing his show and doing all his content out there. And we appreciate his time here today. Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports. Jason, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. And San Francisco was wild, but I'm glad to be back to the regular routine. It's a weird Super Bowl is a weird world, my friend. So fun to be out there, but back to regular as we sit now this week.
Hey, we didn't have you on last week, but there was a lot of content that came from your show that we were able to use on the show last week. We'll talk about Jay Glazer and his comments on Joe Burrow and the Bengals coming up more here in just a moment. But how is like Super Bowl media, where you've done so many different projects out there with various shows, various networks, of course. You hear a lot of media guys who say it's overrated. Is it overrated? How good of a time was that last week in the build-up?
I think part of it, look, 20 years ago, the only way that Dayton was going to hear from Jay Glazer is if Jay Glazer popped on your station. So there was a ton of value to it. Now aggregation is what it is, right? Like you mentioned, Jay, my show's never gone as viral as it did because Jay Glazer talks about Max Crosby on my show, which speaks to the Raiders fandom. And that's the moment that went viral. I was doing another interview with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, actually, and ended up, by the time we finished that interview, all of a sudden we were at 500,000 views on something. So it's crazy how it just blew up. But we got lucky because we had Jay first, right? So I think so much of the media row area now that they call it is just the same people going from place to place to place. And now in the social media world, I think Jamar and T probably said everything they had to say in the first stop. So I don't know if it has the same value that it used to have, but certainly the opportunity to be around it and the opportunity to get that many different players and reporters at once is special. And I think that's part of why it still resonates with some people.
Yeah, and of course, that was the part of the build-up to Super Bowl 60. Look, and I see the Seahawks getting real defensive. A lot of people getting defensive of the Seahawks. This isn't really a shot at them at all, but I think this is – I said that this was one of the more boring Super Bowls that I can remember, not just the game itself, but like the build-up to it. I thought that the playoffs, just even though there were some competitive close games, there was just a lot of star power missing from these playoffs. What was your thoughts from the beginning of the playoffs to now? Where are you on how you viewed the playoffs and the Super Bowl? Was this one of the more boring Super Bowls in your opinion?
I think the NFC gave us a lot of drama that was exciting, but the Seahawks don't resonate as a brand nationally to the same level. That's just fact. Like we see it nationally in our reporting. So there is a little bit of a drop-off, and the AFC was hurt by the fact that there was no Lamar and that Josh Allen was eventually exited from it. There was no Joe. There's no Patrick Mahomes. Like, these are household names. Sometimes you got to go through the process of making new names, right? And that's the beautiful opportunity. The problem is Drake May wasn't ready for that opportunity. So, look, the Super Bowl fell flat because it's exactly – I predicted on Yahoo Sports that it would be a 17-point win by the Seahawks. Everybody said I was crazy. 16. I missed it by a point, right? Like, so to me, I keep looking at it and saying the reason the Super Bowl was less than is because New England was one of the most least sort of deserving Super Bowl teams we've seen. They fine, you got there, it's great, but they didn't go through the gauntlet to get there. I'm not sure they were really a great football team. Their quarterback just didn't look good in the postseason at all. So all of that factors into why the Super Bowl just fell flat to me.
The Seahawks, they come away victorious in the Super Bowl, and like all week, it just seems like a lot of the talk is, it's a one-off Super Bowl champion that, we're going to see Patrick Mahomes and company return to greatness. You'll see Lamar and the Ravens bounce back. Josh Allen will be back. Joe Burrow, big off season for him and the Bengals. I know that a lot of those are AFC teams, but, you'll get, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. They'll ride the ship, if you will. But, you think about the Seahawks, one of the best defenses in the league. They have a very good offensive line. They can run the hell out of the football. They have a true number one wide receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Sam Darnold, the winningest quarterback over the last 2 years, and puts up very solid numbers. This Seahawks team, it may not be the most exciting team. You talked about the brand. I think that plays a role in it. But I don't know if the Seahawks are going anywhere. Who are the Seahawks? Is this a team that has staying power, if you will, as far as remaining in that Super Bowl contending window?
My God, yes. Like, I think this is the beginning of the window. In fact, let's add one other element to this. The Seahawks have the sixth most salary cap space of any team in the NFL going into the offseason. So now, all of a sudden, when you're looking at free agents, if you want to sign free agents, they'll keep a lot of that money to work on their own. But if they want to sign free agents, well, you want to come here where we just won a Super Bowl? And by the way, where we seem to have a great vibe in the locker room and everybody loves being a part of this team, Kenneth Walker III certainly is going to be a coveted free agent. He'll only hit the market if Seattle lets him hit the market. Like, that's the spot they're in. Their defense is young, and their defense does stuff that nobody else can figure out. I think Mike Macdonald has proven himself to be exactly what Sean McVay is to the offense. That's what Macdonald is to the defense. You give me that sort of head coach, you're not going to be bad anytime. Defense travels. We know that. I think this is the beginning of an era for the Seahawks where they're constantly, look, win a Super Bowl? I don't know. Will they go through another postseason where they literally don't turn the football over? Not likely, right? But at the end of the day, am I going to bet against their ability to run the football? Am I going to bet against their ability to just absolutely put every quarterback in a blender? My God, no. They could have just as easily been the Rams, but I think the Rams and the Seahawks are two teams that next year, if I'm betting my house today, I got to bet the NFC. I would be much more comfortable betting my house on either of those teams than anybody else in the NFC.
Yeah, the Seahawks have that, like, if they do go on to compete for more Super Bowls moving forward or maybe win another one, they almost have that the early 2000s, Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan, those San Antonio Spurs feels where, man, they're just going to do a lot of things fundamentally. They're going to do a lot of things really well. They're going to continue to compete, but they're boring as hell. Nobody loved those. I didn't really love Tim Duncan until it was time to tell him goodbye when he retired, right? Like, and that's what this, no one's going to appreciate this Seahawks team, and that's if they could keep it going. I'm very curious to see if they can, but yeah, like we said, they check off so many of those boxes. And I think the other thing that goes, we talked so much about QBs and the amount of money that they make. I think what also helps this team, you talked about the salary cap. They did spend a good chunk of change on Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold won them a Super Bowl, and he doesn't cost the same as a Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson, a Jalen Hurts, and some of these other top QBs who are regular Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah, that's part of it. For sure, you're able to spread your money in more directions. I still think, though, even with the money aspect of it, part of the reason the Seahawks are in this position is that Schneider's been a great GM. Like, we talk about Howie Roseman all the time of the Eagles. I think really the cheat code sometimes is who's running your franchise. To think about the fact that Schneider ripped the entire roster apart, all different coaching staff. He's now as a GM won 2 Super Bowls with the same franchise. He's the only GM in history to win 2 Super Bowls with the same franchise that had nobody that was the same in that process. Not a single coach or player remaining from his first Super Bowl. He now wins the second. That speaks to roster construction. That speaks to smart drafting. Like, they're in a very interesting situation because, yeah, they're going to have to pay some of these guys now coming up in the next few years. Like, Jackson Smith-Njigba is only going to get more and more expensive. Sam Darnold is going to cost a premium, I think, at some point if he keeps winning 14 games a year. Nick Eamon is only a rookie, but my God, he's one of many pieces on the defensive side of the ball that in the next few years are going to have to get paid. So they're going to have to juggle it. But right now, I'm looking at a front office that just flat out, they outdraft everybody. They outposition everybody. They put together a better staff than anybody. They realized, this speaks to the Bengals fans, they realized when mediocrity wasn't going to be enough, they blew it all up and they brought in in the right people to replace that mediocrity. They were willing to let go of Geno Smith, which not everybody thought was a smart idea, because they saw something in Sam Darnold that, frankly, half the league didn't see. So they did a lot of things right to get where they are. We can simplify it into a couple of things, but realistically, like, they've done all the little things right for a period of the last 3 years to get to where they are, 2 years to get to where they are right now.
Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, with us here. We talked about Jay Glazer earlier, and you just mentioned the Bengals. Jay Glazer, one of the clips that caught a lot of fans' attention, including Bengals fans, was, when just talking about this upcoming offseason, now that the Super Bowl's in the rear view, he said he's keeping an eye on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Talking about the fact that a lot of teams are going to be calling. Me personally, Joe Burrow's not going anywhere. I think Joe Burrow is not clamoring to get out of Cincinnati, in my opinion. I think Joe Burrow's pissed off because he wants to stay and he wants to win in Cincinnati. People say I'm just going to hate on the Bengals. I'm like, no, I think Joe Burrow, he doesn't want to leave. I don't think he's trying to leave Cincinnati. He is pleading and begging that front office to do something because he doesn't want to go win with the Rams or win elsewhere. He wants to stay in Cincinnati and win here. It's not up to Joe Burrow to want to leave. It's up to the Bengals if he's going to want to leave. They have to do something. But I thought a lot was made about Joe Burrow over the Radio Row up to the Super Bowl. I don't think he's trying to leave. I think he wants to stay and he wants to win. But Jay Glazer definitely caught people's attention, saying, "Hey, he's keeping an eye on Joe Burrow and the Bengals this offseason."
Yeah, and I mean, Jay said that to me on our show. And my initial reaction as I thought about it, and I never want to be disrespectful to a guest or to Jay, is like, that's cool, but it ain't happening. Here's a couple of things that I would say to everybody that would hopefully calm them down. Number one, all right, every team in the league tomorrow calls the Chiefs and makes an offer for Patrick Mahomes. What could you actually offer the Kansas City Chiefs that will result in them trading Patrick Mahomes? Now, we all know the answer to that is literally nothing. I think Joe Burrow is the exact same to the Cincinnati Bengals as Patrick Mahomes is to the Kansas City Chiefs. I genuinely believe that the Raiders could turn around today, call the Bengals and say, we'll give you the next 10 years, every draft pick we have for the next decade. And the Bengals still wouldn't take it. Why? Because why would you take it? It is so hard, especially when you're a franchise that understands how hard it is to identify and find your franchise quarterback. You have your franchise quarterback. So that's where everybody says, well, they're going to trade him because he's going to demand a trade. Okay, now let's peel that back. Give me one quarterback in NFL history in his prime, not late in his career, in his prime, that went to an organization and said, I must be traded, and he actually was. Just one. I want anybody to show me any precedent in the history of the league where one quarterback in his prime. Now, some people will say Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford was traded. Number one, Stafford wasn't in his prime. Number two, the organization and Stafford together agreed that for him to get what he needed, the best chance to win, they were going to send him somewhere else. That was a mutual decision of, hey, we're going to do this because it's best for you. Do we have any indication that that's what the Bengals and Burrow have discussed behind the scenes? No. Go all the way back to when Joe Montana was traded. Joe Montana wasn't traded in his prime, number one, but Joe Montana was traded because the organization believed the backup quarterback, Steve Young, was going to be better for the future. They bailed out of Joe Montana because they had another guy. Even if the Bengals fans want to look at it and say, Carson Palmer, there's a guy that said, I won't play here. Was Carson in his prime? Did I miss something? Quarterbacks in their prime have literally never asked for a trade. They're not wired that way. The NBA and the NFL are not the same. So just because NBA players come in all the time and say, trade me, I want somebody to give me precedent of one single time. And once you realize you can't, then tell me why this situation is suddenly going to be different. Why is Joe Burrow going to be the first quarterback ever to walk up in his prime to the organization that drafted him and say, if you won't trade me, I'm going to retire? Like, that's his only option here. His only option would be to literally retire and never play football again. And I don't think starting quarterbacks, they're wired from the time that they're 8 years old to be the guy that the team leans on and the whole program leans on and everybody looks to for guide. They're not wired to walk away. That's why they have a hard time retiring later in their career. There's nothing in Joe Burrow's wiring that actually says, you know what he says? He says this isn't fun. You're right. I asked Jamar and T about it. At Super Bowl, I asked the two of them what they made about it, of Joe's comments. And T flat out said, we do this to win. Of course this isn't fun. Like, none of us signed up to lose football games. They talked openly about how hard it is every day to come in with that energy and pick the locker room up when you've won your whole life. I had a great conversation with them about it. Isn't it okay to make life as simple as Joe Burrow's not having fun because he's not winning football games and he wants to win football games? That's it. That's it. And we live in this news cycle where First Take needs to yell about something and Stephen A needs to have a big topic. So everybody turns it into that. But like, the reality of it is Joe Burrow is not going to come in tomorrow and demand a trade. He's not going to come in tomorrow and retire. And I don't think a single phone call could be made by anybody in the league that would give the Bengals value for Burrow. Burrow isn't going anywhere. It's simple.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, we got to really redefine what a headline is or what breaking news is, because I wasn't disrespecting Jay Glazer either. I kept playing the clip and I was like, I'm missing something here. I don't understand why this is a big deal, because what he was saying is he's paying attention to Joe Burrow and the Bengals because he feels like a lot of teams are going to be calling the Bengals. To me, that's not news. To me, news is I'm paying attention to Joe Burrow and the Bengals because I'm hearing that the Bengals are open to calls for Joe Burrow. Now my ears are perched. Now I'm scooting up in my seat. Now I'm yelling into this mic. I was like, I'm just missing something. I don't think that's breaking news. I mean, of course, you mean, so I'm supposed to be surprised that other teams around the NFL are interested in Joe Burrow? I'm not surprised by that. I would be surprised if the Bengals, as goofy as an organization as they are, they're not goofy enough to actually be entertaining the idea of moving on from Joe Burrow. Now, to me, if they were, that's where the breaking news or the headlines would really stem from, and that's not what the situation is.
When I worked with Mike Tannenbaum at ESPN, he was the first person that informed me, and he said, look, fans would be they would lose their minds if they knew how many times calls are made. And he said, any GM that's worth their salt is actually, they're going to call on everybody. He said, like, there are GMs that are going to, at the combine, they're just jokingly going to throw out, Josh Allen, is he taking a call? Like, look, we know these guys aren't going to be traded. Anytime you hear a report of teams are calling about, of course they are. Like, teams are going to call about Max Crosby every single day until Max makes it clear that he's not going to play for the Raiders. Those calls are just going to be wasted calls, right? Like, teams are going to make calls on Joe Burrow because we all saw the press conference and he looks unhappy. So maybe you call the Bengals in case you catch them in their fields and they're like, yeah, well, he wants to move on. We're going to let him move on. That's just not going to happen here. So you're right. They should always be calling. I would guarantee you that there are GMs this year that will call the Bengals across the league and they'll ask about Joe and they'll ask about Jamar and they'll ask about T, because you should ask about Joe, Jamar, and T just in case. And when they're told, to go to hell, then they're going to just hang up the phone and keep moving down the phone line. But making calls is not a story. Receiving calls back. If a team is making calls saying, hey, what's your level of interest? If the Bengals are making calls saying, hey, what's your level of interest in Burrow? Now we got a massive story. But if all they're doing is answering the phone and telling somebody to go to hell, I don't really know why it's a story at all.
Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, you spent last week, in the build-up to the Super Bowl media row, had a chance to catch up with a lot of insiders, special guests. I mean, you said you had an opportunity. That's awesome to sit down with T and Jamar. Did you come across any tidbit of any information that kind of made you turn your head and say, oh, wow, that's something to keep an eye on this offseason? Now that the Super Bowl is behind us, it is all about the draft and all about free agency. The fun, one of the funnest things about the NFL, of course, is all the change in the offseason. Anything that you're keeping your eye on now that maybe you weren't thinking about before last week?
Well, I mean, admittedly, as I mentioned, Jay blew up on my show because he said Max is done playing with the Raiders, and Jay knows Max better than I do. I mean, Jay's very close with Max. So that's the first time that I've looked at it and said, wow, there might be something there. So that was surprising to me for him to be so adamant that Max's time is done with Vegas. I'm still in a wait till I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. Fair disclosure, as you know, Max and I are buddies. I text him. He has not texted me back. So, that's as we all know, sometimes, when you're part of a viral moment, athletes don't appreciate it. So, but I haven't heard anything from Max one way or the other. So I can't support that. And then the other side is, I'm just going to let everybody know, I think the top of the draft is going to be super boring. The one thing that we're already hearing, the Raiders might trade out of one. The number of people that I think are well-connected in the league that know my fandom that immediately made it clear to me, Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first pick in the draft. This is not breaking news. I'm just reminding you that as somebody that worked for years at ESPN, sometimes the joy of mock drafts is making them different just to make them different. Sometimes you make the mocks just a little bit. Ooh, we're going to throw this in here to keep it spicy. I don't believe the top of the draft is going to be spicy at all. So when you hear people right now talking about the possibility of trading out, I would tell everybody that at least the indicators I feel like I'm getting, there's no call that's there's no serious calls being made or taken about the number 1 overall pick this year.
We just saw, obviously, what Sam Darnold, Seahawks, Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl. What does that do for quarterbacks who are similar to Sam Darnold, who haven't been able to find the right spot for the first team they're drafted by the second? Years ago, I always thought, the reason I had given up on Baker Mayfield is it was like there was no precedent to be set where a quarterback that's drafted by a team, it doesn't work there, and then they go on to flourish elsewhere. There was just no precedent for that before. But now, within the last 3, 4, 5 years, it's like, oh, that's happening all the time now. Baker, didn't work in Carolina, either did Sam Darnold, but then all of a sudden flourishes with Tampa Bay. It took a few spots. Sam Darnold, flourished with the Vikings, flourished with the Seahawks here. I'm looking at quarterbacks like Daniel Jones, Malik Willis, some others. What does the success of Sam Darnold and even Baker Mayfield, we saw a brief run of Daniel Jones this past year, what does the Super Bowl championship for Sam Darnold mean in the value of a lot of those other quarterbacks, those misfits, if you will, that just haven't been able to find their footing? Their value's through the roof right now, right? Because of Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I mean, overpayment is going to be real for mid-level quarterbacks right now. I mean, I think there's going to be a bidding war for Malik Willis, which is shocking to say, but he is the best of the free agent quarterbacks available right now. It's a really weird quarterback class. The draft class has one guy that's a first rounder. Outside of that, you have Malik in free agency. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to hit free agency, frankly. I think the Colts are going to find something team-friendly and player-friendly to give him a little bit of security while he rehabs from the injury. I don't think Daniel Jones hits the open market. The reason that we're now bending over backwards to figure out if Derek Carr is coming back into the league is because there's just not enough quality quarterbacking in the league right now. So to your point, what this is going to do is it's going to create a lot of sort of opportunity for teams that don't see a clear-cut path in the draft to say, no, all hope is not lost. We're going to go get Malik Willis. But the problem is a lot of teams are going to say that. I will die on the hill constantly, though, that coaching matters, stability matters, organizations matter, the right voices matter. All of these things matter to the development of a quarterback. Looking at squarely at Cleveland, if Shedeur Sanders ends up not being the future of the Cleveland Browns, does that mean that Shedeur Sanders doesn't have a future in the NFL? I think modern times have told us the answer to that is no. Same with Dylan Gabriel, right? Like, you can look at some of these guys that say somebody is going to look at it and say, I see something I can develop. My fear is what you're really going to do is continue to kick the can down the road, overpay mid-level talent, and then all of a sudden you're in a situation where you don't get a long-term answer. Because for every Sam Darnold, there's going to be plenty that aren't. One name to keep an eye on this year, I think that's really interesting, though, is Mac Jones. He's the backup in San Francisco, had tremendous success when he was on the field. San Francisco holds his rights for another year. He's still under contract. He's a backup there, but Brock Purdy missed some time to injury. Do they love him so much that they feel like they need to keep him? Because I could see a team aggressively trying to come in and acquire Mac Jones. I can't believe I'm saying it, but Mac Jones, based on the fact that, well, could he be the next Sam Darnold? That's what we're going to see. Just like we see reaches positionally in the draft, we're going to see reaches in trades and free agency just because you're hoping you get a mid-level guy that can pop to the top.
Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, has been able to hang out with us each and every week from the start of college football, NFL season, through Super Bowl Sunday. So I got to throw out a college football question to you. Paul Feinbaum let it be known this week that he believes, according to people close to him, that Alabama at some point is going to pull out of the Ohio State-Alabama series that kicks off starting in 2027. A lot of people, the SEC's scared, Alabama's scared. Not only do I disagree with that from where I sit, I'm actually questioning why the hell has Ohio State not pulled that from their schedule either. I know that's probably not the most popular take out there. I don't think it's soft of these programs to bounce from these. I think we saw with Texas, they weren't in the playoffs last year because they challenged themselves in the non-con with that loss against Ohio State. Theoretically, that kept them out, right? Like, I don't think it's soft. I think it's smart of these teams to look at it with all the conference realignment. There's so many good teams in these conferences. Look at Ohio State this year. In my lifetime, I think this is the toughest non-conference, or this is the toughest schedule that I think that they've ever played since I've been alive and following the Buckeyes. I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think it's soft. I don't think Alabama's afraid of anything. Not only is it an Alabama-Ohio State thing, I think you're going to see it more across the board. Do you expect to start seeing more of that if that ends up being the case?
1,000%. When we were kids on the playground, you'd see something really risky, and one of your friends would say, "What, are you scared?" And so all of a sudden you go do it anyway, and then you break your leg. As you get older, then what, are you scared? You just look at your friend and say, "No, I'm not an idiot." That's what's happening in college football right now. No, I'm not an idiot. Like, what's the real gain for Alabama playing Ohio State? What's the real gain for Ohio State playing Alabama? The answer to this for all of us as fans is going to be, we get a great game, right? Like, we get a game with two big brands early in the football season. Everybody loves watching that. ESPN can hype the hell out of it leading up to it. They can make posters and they can advertise it for a month, and we get really excited. But in this modern climate, I think your point is a strong one and an important one here. If I'm in the Big Ten, I don't need the SEC anymore. I think it's a pretty fair, reasonable, and honest take at this point that the Big Ten is the superior football conference. Why do I need the SEC to vault myself into any conversation? I don't. I think I can get enough landmark wins on my conference schedule if I'm in the Big Ten or the SEC that I don't need the other side of this. I think what you're going to get is more isolation in sandboxes. I'll play in my sandbox. You play in your sandbox like baseball used to be. I'll stick in the AL. You stick in the NL. We will see you in the playoffs, right? Like, I just think that is the inevitable future of where this is going. And that's exactly what I would do. If I'm the athletic director of Alabama or Ohio State right now, I'm canceling everything that I don't have to do, because I'm going to bank on the fact that if I could just run through my schedule, I can run through most of the Big Ten, and then I know I'll get a couple of big games. I'm Ohio State. I'm looking around saying, well, I know I'm going to get Michigan every year, right? Like, suddenly Indiana's become a big game when you got it on your schedule. Whoever would have thought that we'd be there? I know that I got the shot at Oregon all the time. Oregon is a perennial contender, right? Like, I think there's going to be some teams in the middle of the conference like Michigan State with the new coaching staff and $401 million that's about to get much better too. I'm going to get enough meat out of my schedule that all I got to do is win my way through that thing. The win or the loss over Alabama isn't going to help me enough to make it worth what happens if it hurts me. So I don't want to touch it with the 10-foot pole. I'm going to let my resume go until we see somebody run their conference, run through an undefeated season, absolutely dominate their conference in the Big Ten and the SEC, and then get left out of the college football playoff. Why would you not do this? The modern metrics show you that playing out of conference is just a waste. It's a waste because risk versus reward. I'm old enough now to look at it and say, if my friend double dog dares me to jump out of an airplane, but I'm not sure the parachute works, I ain't doing it. Now, when I was in my 20s, I'd have looked at that as something thrilling and exciting, right? Like, we're not in our 20s anymore with college football. Just look at the landscape and accept the risk versus reward. Do what helps you in the end. How many times have I told you, and I know your fan base hates this, but like, the game no longer matters. Ohio State, Michigan no longer matters. You raise a banner for a national championship. Once we accept that the only thing that matters is winning in the playoffs and winning a national championship, winning your conference doesn't even matter. My God, I don't want to be in the conference championship game if it can penalize me. I don't want to play Alabama if it can penalize me. I'm going to isolate myself in a bubble. I'm going to get ready for the way they actually raise banners, because nobody is thinking about who Indiana didn't play right now. Everybody's thinking about the fact that Indiana is the national champion.
If the playoff committee would have put Texas in the playoff this year and said, hey, we don't like that you have 3 losses, but we respect that. If in my opinion, they should have made that a talking point. We don't like your 3rd loss, but we respect the fact that you, even with playing in the SEC, playing SEC schedule, that you were willing to keep Ohio State on your schedule. We're going to reward you for that. You're in the playoff. If they would have done that, do you think that would have stopped this or at least slowed it down for a bit?
It would have slowed it down massively. But, like, think about how we cover sports, right? Like, you're in a basketball market. Think about how we talk about sports. All we talk about are championships in every sport, right? Like, and then the number of times we turn around and say, well, Michael never lost in a final, so that means he must be better than LeBron, without ever taking the context of how many times Michael lost in the conference final, right? Like, all we pick and choose are these championship metrics. Now that is college football. Like it or not, that now that we're in that landscape, you're 1,000% right. There's context to how you got where you are in a schedule. And if they had rewarded Texas and turned around and said, okay, yes, this is We understand how you got here. We still believe that you are better. There seems to be a line in the sand. Once you take a certain number of losses, you're out of the conversation. Why risk that loss? Like, you're already taking a risk when you play in a tough conference. It's going to be tougher for you. I think if you're the ACC, you're the Big 12, those are the schools that are bummed they can't find the matchup against the Big 10 or the SEC because they need the resume builder. They need somebody to believe in their football program because the ACC stinks, right? So you need a win over somebody. So you go undefeated in the ACC, and all we're going to say is, yeah, it's the ACC, right? They need outside opponents. When you're in a power position, you don't negotiate down with anybody. The Big Ten and the SEC would be negotiating down to take any out of conference games.
All right, Jason Fitz, you gave us a ton of time. I do need your take on the way out, though. On the way out, because we talked about this to open up the show today. The NBA, so much is being made about the tanking issues and everything else, and I put this out on social media earlier today. I'm like, I don't blame these teams. All we do as professional sports is we incentivize losing. We reward losing. I mean, if I'm bad at my job, I get fired. If you're bad at your job, you get fired. If we're bad at our job, we get fired. That's just the nature of everyday life. But in the NBA and the NFL and others, if you're bad at your job, now technically coaches get fired, but if you're bad at your job as an organization, we reward you with the best talent coming out of college. I just feel like we're never going to see teams we'll never see teams not tank as long as we are going to reward them for losing. I don't know how you fix it, but I can't stand rewarding all these bad teams who are sticking it to the fans, sticking it to the league, the networks, everything. I can't stand that we reward them with handing them the best talent coming out. Now, I'm a Browns fan. You're a Raiders fan with the number 1 overall pick over on the NFL side. So, maybe we kind of like it. But your thoughts on that on the way out?
Tom Haberstroh on Yahoo Sports Daily today said the NBA needs to eliminate the draft. And by eliminating the draft, there's no longer an incentive to tank. Now, my follow-up question to that is, why would anybody go play in Utah if they weren't drafted to play in Utah? Like, there's complications to it. So I'm not sure there's an easy solution. I think in part it's that we reward the teams that are terrible. But the other part of it is right now, the number 1 team in the East is Detroit. And you know what we're going to say about that all year? Well, they haven't really done it in the playoffs. Let's see what matters. And then if Detroit, let's say, goes on a run and they get themselves to the NBA Finals and they lose to OKC, how will we view that season for Detroit? We will view that season as a failure. We will actually turn around. The media that covers the NBA if the Cavs go on this incredible run because of how well it's going now post-trade, and they lose in the NBA Finals, it will only be more conversation about the failures of Harden. Like, that's the way we cover the sport. So when you combine the fact that we incentivize being terrible with the fact that we have now devalued success that doesn't end in a trophy to such a level that it feels like a failure, like, we live in a world now where in the NBA, if you make it to the NBA Finals and you've got all of this, you had a 60-win season, you make it to the NBA Finals, we're like, yeah, who cares? You didn't win it all. If that's the way we're going to cover the sport, that result is devaluing the regular season, because we've already told everybody the regular season doesn't matter. It devalues individual accomplishment, because we've told you that whatever you do in the regular season outside of the playoffs doesn't matter. It increases the value in tanking, because now you know that just being good will never be enough. Just being good will mean you just get the moniker of you suck. So, like, because of the way we cover championships only, and then we incentivize losing, the NBA is lost. It would take a mass shift in how we cover the game and the way we think about success for us to actually see the NBA and the way the product comes out change.
All right, Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports. Man, I appreciate it. Super Bowl's over. I love the Super Bowl and hate it because that's it. But the offseason's fun. But I always look forward to talking with you each and every week throughout the season. Very appreciative of that. And thank you.
Appreciate you, my friend. Always fun.
All right, good stuff. Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, awesome enough to give us some time. And again, it's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We'll continue when we get back.